Bill Walton passed away yesterday at the age of 71 with cancer. Dev, do you remember when he was in here?
I do remember because he told us, save it for the show.
Save it for the show.
Save
Chris
it
was trying
for
to
the-
talk to him during the break because he got in here during the break and we had a long break, like a 5-6 minute break, so they could, we try to do that when we have guests in studio that we don't know personally. Gives like a warm up time. Chris gets to chat him up and just kind of, you help him feel comfortable. And Chris was trying to talk to Bill Walton, and Bill Walton was just saying, save it for the show. And Bill Walton was doing stretches and everything, swinging his arms. He's getting loose. He was getting ready to go.
As soon as that mic turned on, bro.
And as soon as that mic turned on, Bill Walton showed you why he is Bill Walton and why he is a one of a kind. He is a true one of one. Thoughts, prayers with the entire Walton family. Anybody that worked with him, you truly know nobody has a bad thing to say about Bill Walton. Nobody did broadcasting like Bill Walton did. He made games entertaining. He made them funny. It didn't matter if the game was a 1-point game or if it was a 30-point game. He made them all entertaining to watch. But Bill Walton joined the show in studio on January 21st of 2019. Sat in studio with us for 25, 30 minutes or so, and this is how it sounded.
All right.
Yeah, let's rock. Here we are, Memphians, wherever you may be. Come gather around, children, and let's turn it on today, turn it up, and blast off. Hi, I'm Bill. I'm from San Diego, California. I've got 2 L's in my name, and my guest this afternoon is Chris. And he is such an awesome dude. One of the coolest things I see when I walk in here is he's got all these bobbleheads on his desk. Now, I'm a big bobblehead guy. A lot of people have convinced me that I am a bobblehead myself, but the collection that I've been able to accumulate over the course of the years pales in comparison to what Chris has. What I want to know from you, Chris, since this is Martin Luther King Day, is there a Martin Luther King bobblehead?
There probably is. These are actually
Can some of our
Funko
listeners
Pops.
email us into the show right now and tell us where we can get an MLK bobblehead? Because I've got an Obama bobblehead. I've got all kinds of. I got everybody else's bobblehead that I want.
I will send you one.
With the exception of Bob Dylan and Neil Young. I'm not sure if those guys have bobbleheads, but all the other guys, and we have a huge collection. It's very, very nice. My wife Lori, who's not here with me on this trip, but she's in charge of everything nice in my life, and I kind of go around and break things and screw things up. But to be here in Memphis, a place that I didn't think I'd be allowed off the plane when I got here yesterday.
I thought about this. Mario Chalmers really took you off the hook because for so many years your name was mud for your performance against Memphis in the Final Four in the early 70s.
That was quite a few years ago. Let me try to figure this out, calculate this. That was 46 years ago. I'm old.
Do you remember
and in the way.
Do you remember everything about it?
I remember that we won the game. And I remember that their great coach, Gene Bartow, who has a tremendous relationship with literally everybody in our world, including the Memphis Grizzlies, but he was the only coach that we ever played against at UCLA that knew what our team was about. He knew that Greg Lee was our key to everything because his flow in life, in trying to get to your goal to the top of the mountain, and this is Martin Luther King's deal too, is that he knew how to lead that relentless offensive attack. So Greg comes into UCLA as this huge star, much bigger than Jamal Wilkes or me. And so John Wooden, he made the decision early on that Jamal and I were going to get the ball every single time. He told the guys on the first day of practice, look, if Bill and Jamal don't get the ball every time, the rest of you guys are coming out. And so a lot of them just sad faces. Their lives were just ruined and crushed. But they still bought in. They wanted to be part of something special. And no one sacrificed more than Greg. Larry Hollyfield was in that category as well. It's easy to be the star player, easy to be the lead player. You have to have the talent, you have to have the skill and the drive and all that stuff. But when you're the guy at the top, you're not asked to sacrifice a lot except in terms of your leadership example. And so when Greg, who came in as this big-time scorer, he had to be the playmaker. He became the most gifted and beautiful and most fluid playmaker of all. So when Jamal later on in his life was on the Lakers, and he was with Kareem and Norm Nixon, and then Magic joins the team, right? And Magic is just a spectacular player, and everybody's just going gaga over Magic, as well we should. He's incredible. And so all the media are going up to Kareem and saying, man, what's it like to play with Magic Johnson? And Kareem say, hey, man, I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Get out of my face, right? They go up to Norm Nixon, and they go, hey, what's it like to play with Magic Johnson, who's throwing all these wonderful passes all the time? And Norm says, I'm Norm Nixon, man. Get out of here. And they go to Jamal Wilkes, who's just the kindest, nicest, calmest, most poised person ever. Coach Wooden described him as the perfect player, the perfect person. They said, hey, Jamal, what's it like to play with somebody who passes the ball like that? And Jamal looked back at him and he said, hey, man, I played with Greg Lee. And that's the way it was. And Gene Bartow, he saw that. And so he made the decision to double team Greg. But when you're a great passer, that's what you want. And a double team doesn't impact you. The double team can impact a scorer, but not a passer. Gene thought he could do it, but it didn't. And so Greg set a championship game record that day that still exists, 14 assists in the game, championship game. And I was the recipient of all those passes. And so I was wide open all game long because Gene said, we're not going to guard Bill, we're going to guard Greg. And it worked great for me, and we won the game. But never criticized Gene Bartow, as fine a man as you'll ever know. And now his son is coaching the UCLA Bruins.
That's
absolutely
true.
Incredible. But we're here in Memphis, and what a fantastic deal this has been.
You were allowed to come back to our city, despite that performance.
I had to get security clearance on the way out of the airport. I mean, normally it's on the way in, you know, and I've got so much metal in my body.
Is that right?
It's brutal to go through the TSA screening because I'm TSA clear, TSA pre. I got every advantage possible, and yet everything is broken down.
You just set off all the sirens.
Set it all off.
So
and they see me coming. Maybe it's my big nose. I'm not sure. Maybe it's my freckles. Maybe it's my goofy, nerdy-looking face. Maybe it's the fact that I'm a deadhead.
You are a sports...
Memphis, what a place. The river flowing right down the river, right down the way here.
And the National Civil Rights Museum.
I was there last night.
I know. You are a recipient of the Sports Legacy Award.
What an honor.
One of...
the messages that I've received from my friends around the globe today.
Oh, really?
It's just staggering. It's overwhelming. The reach of the NBA. What the NBA means to me, as a child growing up, it represented hope, opportunity, and purpose. What it means to me today is pride, loyalty, and gratitude, and that sense of being part of something special. And the NBA, what we have today, is what we dreamed of when we were growing up, when we were playing, I was the broadcaster for 18 years, and the fact that it's all come together, and the ability now to use the vehicle of the game itself, but to use the business model, to use the leadership, to use the media opportunities to deliver the message that we received last night at the Civil Rights Museum, the message that we received this morning over at St. Jude's Hospital, the message that we're going to do everything we can to deliver at the symposium this afternoon, and then ultimately during the game and all through the day. But it's not just today. It's each and every day, and that's a message of hope. And that's a message, when you think of Danny Thomas, you think of St. Jude's, and you think of that the message and the commitment that was St. Jude, the patron saint of hopeless causes. And that's me in my life. Not the patron saint part. I'm the hopeless cause part. And you see what the NBA has become. And I've been spending all my time here with Kevin Lloyd. Kevin, the middle of three sons of Earl Lloyd, the first black player in the NBA. And then all the pioneers, the guys like Wayne Embry, who's also being honored. And then in those days, the maximum salary was $5,000. A season, not a game, not a breath, not a blink like it is today, but the building. And that is what we're all committed to here in conjunction with our brilliant leader today in Adam Silver, who has taken over from the greatest man in the history of all basketball, David Stern. David Stern, he's your size, Chris. Your name's Chris, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, David Stern is like this size, but in a game that today is dominated by the winners of the genetic lottery, David was able to take a game and make it into a business. And now when we apply those lessons, and David was hugely committed to all things good in this world. And so with the NBA morphing into this intergalactic force for good, for me, little Billy from San Diego with his red hair and his freckles and his big nose and his goofy, nerdy-looking face and his horrendous speech impediment, I'm a lifelong stutterer, couldn't say a word till I was 28 years old. Learning how to speak is my greatest accomplishment and your worst nightmare. And then here's Billy as the deadhead and coming in here and being able to be part of this remarkable celebration. I've been here in Memphis a lot of times for a lot of different things. I first started coming here to see Dr. Marcus Stewart, who was a foot specialist, and he was just a brilliant man, and everybody around the world was trying to fix my foot. If I had only gone to see Danny Thomas, who I knew from my days at UCLA. I mean, Danny was just such a mega star, and to see what he's done here. And the fact that those children at the hospital and those families, that they don't have to pay a penny for any of that. And that message and the purpose. I mean, because I'm always working with people who are having trouble. Chris, I'm always sick myself. I'm always sick of something or somebody. But I know that when I'm sick, I know what my medicine is. My medicine is get with the guys, be part of the team, participate in whatever kind of athletic sport participation you can do at that moment. I'm very limited right now because of all the orthopedic challenges that I have. And then listen to the music play and the way it all comes right in here to the city of Memphis. And all the different things that have gone on in my life. But I also tell the young people that who are seemingly in trouble. They're seemingly in trouble because they can't figure out that when they're 21 or 22, they're not already flying their own private jet around, or they're not living in a big mansion on the hill. But they think they have all these problems. And I say, hey, man, when you're really up against it, just go spend some time at St. Jude's Children's Hospital in Memphis, or go down to a VA hospital, or go down to a homeless shelter. And you walk out of there and then tell me what your problems are. And I'll listen to your problems once. But from then on, I want to hear about the plan forward. And that's what the NBA is about. And that's what this day is all about. It looks like you want to say something over there, Chris. Yeah.
When you were yesterday at the National Civil Rights Museum, and you were
tears streaming down my cheeks.
Tears.
That was my life.
Because you are transported back to a time, and you were a counterculture guy.
I'm not counterculture. I'm mainstream as can be.
With Coach Wooden telling you to cut your hair.
It's those other folks out there who are off the edge, man. They are the radicals.
But this is like even back.
I believe in freedom and equality and liberty and opportunity and hope and the dream. And I walked around there, man. I just kept getting taller and taller. And then I stood next to Chris Bosch, who's really tall. And so then I felt like a shriveling midget out there. But to be with Candace Parker and Wayne Embry, and then we haven't spoken about Lionel Hollins yet. Lionel lives here in Memphis, and he came here years ago. And Lionel, like a lot of guys in the world of the NBA, you're on the go, and you're on the move, and you change homes. But Lionel and Angie, his angelic wife, they have had their family home and all their children and their grandchildren, and they're just deeply rooted here, and he's very happy. And it was tough for Lionel. He had a very tough childhood. Didn't have any of the material possessions and opportunities that other people have, and that hopefully, desperately, frantically, we're trying to provide for the next group that are coming up. But you know, we're living in a world right now, Chris, that is growing dark and mean before our eyes.
That friendship that you have with Coach Hollins, is that an extremely special friendship, or do you always have a bond with those that you were with? That was a very young Portland Trailblazers team that won a title.
Youngest team to ever win the championship. Yeah. Oldest guy on the team was 24.
That's incredible.
And Lionel and Johnny Davis formed the fastest backcourt in the history of basketball. And my job was super easy. Just throw the ball up the court, and then they would just race down. But my bond with Lionel is eternal, and it's deeply personal. Because I was there. I was there in Portland Lenny Wilkins was our great coach when we first got started. Lenny had drafted Lionel Hollins and Bobby Gross. And Lenny was the player coach at the beginning, but then he realized that wasn't working, so he stepped aside to just be the coach. And to be on that court, and you could hear the fans in Oregon, this place that I adore, this place that I dreamed of going to hear the fans yell at Lenny and Lionel about how much better they would be as players and people if the color of their skin were different. And it's just a staggering blow to your soul when you hear that, when you feel that, and when you see the impact. And so we fought that, and we challenged that. And Lionel and Lenny with their remarkable sense of dignity and composure. And when we're at the Civil Rights Museum last night, we're watching all the old videos, and the young people who were there and have no idea what that was like, and the economic injustice in the world that is exacerbated today. And to see the abject poverty, to see the lack of hope, to see the children sitting at the lunch counters, to sit in the bus behind the statue of Rosa Parks, all the people that I've known and I've learned from and lived with and gone through all this myself, and then to be here today and have it all come back full circle, and to do it with Lionel, and to do it in the auspices of the NBA, which has given us all the greatest lives that anybody could possibly dream of.
You have still been so involved with basketball. People hear you calling Pac-12 games on regular occasion. It also just so happens that your son had quite the connection with Memphis during the lockout. He came and coached here with Coach Pastner.
Yeah.
He happens to be a head coach in the NBA.
Right. What a privilege.
What kind of position has this put you in, more so as a father, now that your son is coaching LeBron James and one of the premier franchises in the NBA? Are you the father that routinely attempts to give advice?
I'm just the proudest and luckiest dad in the world. And what a golden opportunity for our third son, Luke. We have 4 children. We have 9 grandchildren and more coming with every phone call. But here's a situation where our sons are totally different. They all have different goals, missions, purpose, likes, dislikes, personalities. And one of the things that Lori and I are most proud of in our own personal lives is that the children, they all seem to enjoy their siblings' successes. And to have a life, a young life, where your dreams are for the successes of others, that is a hugely affirmative emotion in your life. That when you see, because when you're old and in the way, and you can't do anything anymore, and you can just watch or talk or learn, and you have no impact and you have no control, but to see their dreams coming true, and to see all the people who have helped little Luke, but also Adam and Nathan and Chris, and then all the grandchildren, and how after being at the hospital this morning, St. Jude's over there, and how fortunate we are that our children haven't had those kind of challenges yet. Yet is the most operative word in all of our languages. And now Luke has got this opportunity in his life at youngest coach in the NBA, and coaching this spectacular player who is so good in everything. And the challenge of being the coach's job is to make the players, the people, the students, make them better at what they do. More importantly, make them better off the court, make them better in their life. And you think of the great coaches that we've had of late. We'll leave out the older dead guys, but Phil Jackson, Pat Riley, Greg Popovich, Mike Krzyzewski, John Calipari, Jay Wright, what these guys are doing at the top right now, there was a moment not long ago in all of their lives where they were Luke, where they were just getting started. Nobody knew who they were. They couldn't get the job they wanted, but all of a sudden there was a break. And then it's what happens once you have that chance. And that's what I love about Martin Luther King, because he had that chance. And Martin Luther King, like so many of the people in my life, Martin Luther King, when he saw trouble, he headed right for it. And he utilized one of the great quotes of all time, "I'll take care of this." And did he ever? And he was not afraid. And fear is an overwhelming power over all of us. And that's why when we came out into the gift shop last night at the Civil Rights Museum, and all those little sayings around the ceiling, we are not alone. We are not alone. We stand together. We walk hand in hand. I am not afraid. We shall overcome. We will get this done. And man, I just kept looking around, and I'm just thinking Bill Russell, man, Muhammad Ali, Wayne Embry, Wilt Chamberlain, Oscar Robertson, Elgin Baylor, Earl Lloyd, Earl's son right here, Kevin. And I am indeed the luckiest and proudest dad in the world. And when I opened my phone this morning and saw all those texts about Bill, hey man, congratulations on this really cool award, and I'm writing back to them, what am I doing here? Little Billy from San Diego. All the things I tried to do, but only did halfway. Some folks would be so happy to have just one dream come true. I'm here to ring the chimes of freedom. I'm here to celebrate the greatness of what we have, express the gratitude, respect, admiration, and appreciation for what went before us, measure what we've done, measure how far we've come, but also, most importantly, look to the future. Look to tomorrow and say, we've got so much more to do. Think of Huey Long's last words, laying there on his deathbed, assassinated when he was 42. Martin Luther King, assassinated when he was 39. Huey Long, his last breath, his last gasp of air. Please, God, don't let me die. There's so much more to do.
One last basketball question before I have to let you go. The NBA has changed dramatically. You were the greatest.
It's better than ever.
You were the greatest champion for big men for so many years, and the value of a big man. And then over the weekend, the Rockets go 2 games in a row where they shoot, I believe, over 63 pointers. And you see the way the game is played now.
I love today's game.
And then a lot of people have gone away from your traditional big man in lieu of a guy that can shoot threes and can really run the court. And so what does Bill Walton make of the way the game is played now?
Nothing happens until something moves. Basketball, the ultimate celebration of life, a game of skill, timing, position. Doesn't matter how big you are. Doesn't matter how high you jump. What matters is how big you play and how and where you are and when you jump. And that was Dr. King, who was not a big, powerful figure physically, but emotionally and psychologically. And when I see today's game, and I see what the Golden State Warriors are doing, and I see what LeBron James is doing, and I see what Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum, and when I see Kyrie Irving, and when I see James Harden, and I see the great Greek god Giannis making all these spectacular plays, when I see the Memphis Grizzlies go into the Staples Center and smash the Lakers just the other night, man, in a game that the Lakers thought they were going to win just because they're the Lakers and Memphis is Memphis. But that's not the way life works. And you got to bring it every day. And that was Dr. King, whether he was sitting in jail, whether he was leading that bus boycott, whether he was teaching, whether he was at the pulpit and preaching, whether he was encouraging the people to, yes, even though they are attacking us, our attack has to come in a peaceful manner, because that is the only way to be sustainably successful. Because in life, success comes from honor, sacrifice, and discipline. In death, that comes from lack of honor. That comes from lies, deceit, hypocrisy. It comes from anger, selfishness, greed. And all of that leads to violence, and violence leads to death. Please, God, don't let me die. So much more to do. And when I watch the Golden State Warriors and the changing culture, and all progress requires change, but not all change is progress. And anybody can get out there and jack up threes, but who can make them? Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. These guys are fantastic, man, and they inspire me. And then when I see LeBron James, who, like Oscar Robertson, will stand up to any bully. When I see little Steph Curry fight back with words, with action, with skill, and with grace and beauty. And when I see Kevin Durant, who's taller than I am and looks like he's about a 6'2" guard racing around the court, and his shake and bake moves and the touch, and he's got so much of Larry Bird in him. When I see those guys stand up, when I see Greg Popovich, and when I see Steve Kerr stand up and say, you know, we're not going to buy into all this nonsense that you folks are selling us, because we are the NBA and we are not alone. We stand together with truth and justice, freedom and liberty. I do have a dream, and I'm in Memphis. And they let me into town.
We did. We let you into town. Bill Walton, I know you've got a very busy schedule today. It was an honor and a privilege to have you in this studio.
Chris, right?
Yeah.
Bill, San Diego,
Yeah.
2 L's. And please, somebody let me know where I can get a Martin Luther King bobblehead. I can put it right there on my dining room table.
I'm going to get you one.
Next to KD, next to Chick Hearn, next to Obama.
If
next
there's
to
one
Bill
thing I
Graham.
do, you will get it delivered to your home.
Okay.
I will have that done.
Who was the guy on the far end there on your bobblehead? Not the babies who's shaving there, but who's the guy who's facing me?
Mike Norvell. He is the head football coach at the University of Memphis.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There he is.
He must be good if he's on your desk.
It's good. He is. He is good. He is good. We got to take a quick break. Back after this. Chris Vernon Show.
That right there was Bill Walton from 2019 here on the Chris Vernon Show. Man, the absolute best. The absolute best.
The Chris Vernon Show, presented by Caesars Sportsbook, live weekdays at noon